Good evening and welcome to Awake States here on PJNet. Looking forward to tomorrow's summit on the Bears and Lord Network. And you just saw a video from our guest that we have in our, virtual studio. On Twitter, she is known as Common Core Diva, at Common Core Diva. If you don't know her, I don't know how you know anything about Common Core, because when they were confirming John King for the Secretary of Education, she was at the point of the spear fighting that. When later on we wanted to rein in King, she was at the tip of the spear fighting that. Tonight we are doing it again. And Lynn, glad to have you in our studios. Glad you could join us. Let me start by asking you. You have done the research. The Department of Education is seeking comments from the public on 191 regulations. Now, time obviously doesn't permit us to review the 191 regulations. I tried to look at them. I program computers. I can fly an airplane. I could not understand what you sent me. But
Okay.
But let's suppose for a moment that you have never heard of Common Core. You don't know what Race to the Top means. You don't know what ESSA means. And you don't know who John King is, but you are a parent. What would be the message you would have for a concerned parent who has children in school?
Well, thank you for having me on, Mark, and thank you for asking. The best way I can put this is, if you know nothing about the federal overreach in education, know this. It violates our 10th Amendment to our Constitution. Anything in America that violates our Constitution is bad. It actually violates more, but just knowing that it violates one is bad enough. It also goes against 3 federal education laws. Common Core did it. ESSA is doing it. Now, ESSA stands for Every Student Succeeds Act. And what parents need to know is that this one has been sold as, okay, no more Common Core, no more, no child left behind. But what research has proven, and one of the things that I'm helping lead throughout the nation, is the truth. And that is that the federal government is going to have even more control over our schools. So if you have someone in school, and this is going to encompass traditional schools, private schools, faith-based schools, it's going to come into our home schools. So this is kind of an education law we've never had before. It's actually going to mirror our states as far as their control. And that's been one of the biggest selling points for the Every Student Succeeds Act. And one of the things about the regulations is that it lays out, Mark, in 5 general areas where these overreaches are going to be. So if you're not used to this sort of kind of conversation, think of it that you're a farmer and you've got your prize hen. This would be your student, okay? You're in the hen house and your hen is laying eggs. And then along comes someone who steals those eggs and then takes your chicken. You wouldn't want that. That's a very basic example of the kind of things that are coming on in our education. We have people who have no business in education who are coming in, having access to our students and to their data, and they're doing terrible things with it. So that being said, I can break down those 192 pages of regulations, and we only have until August the 1st to comment. Now, I do know that throughout my particular writing on my blog and on Twitter and Facebook and everywhere, I have given the link to the Federal Registry, and you can, and I encourage you to make a public comment. And here is why you should comment. If you're a parent, a taxpayer, a grandparent, or someone who just loves America and wants it to stay free, the Secretary of Education is John King, okay? His overreach will more than, oh goodness, let me see. His control will be almost like you're a puppet and he's handling you. That's how he's going to be doing the states. While that doesn't sound so bad, let's think about it. State sovereignty is given over things like education, but yet our states are going to have to kowtow to the Secretary of Education through these regulations and through this new law. We're going to have everything that can possibly be data mined and this is going to get into our privacy issues of not only our families, but entire communities. We're going to see that states are going to now have to fit their budgets to some of these mandates that the federal government will not fund, but yet our states will have to do it, which means more taxpayer burden. We're also going to see how the legislation is going to now encompass special needs, homeless, non-traditional students as well. They have to, every one of them have to measure up to college and career readiness, which is another name for the Common Core. We're also going to see whole school reform, where you're going to see schools shut down if they do not perform the way the Secretary of Education believes they should. We're going to see states get funding withheld if they do not do exactly what the Secretary of Education says. He's going to be able to define what state programs and what resources you can use. So all this is just pointing out, Mark, how much this is the federal telling us what to do, not the states, and certainly not the parents.
You know, and I remember when they were debating the bill to provide the funding for, I'll just call it Common Core.
Right.
One of the New York Times published this article, and I can't remember the word they used, but this is the biggest scaling down of the federalization. Remember how we were sold that this is going to actually return more power to the states? Now, let me ask you a question. You well pointed out that the Secretary of Education, presently John King, an appointee by Obama or whoever, has vast powers, and it sounds to me like the programs will be rolled out in his sole discretion. Now, here's my question. How do you fire John King? How do you control John King or the Secretary of Education, whoever that may be? And I already know the answer, but who alone has the ability to fire? If you don't like the way he's doing things, what recourse do you have?
From the best of my knowledge, Mark, and that's an excellent question, it is a federal position. It is an appointee. So it would have to be someone from the executive branch, or it would have to be Congress. Now, one of the things that's built into the Every Student Succeeds Act, and this is something that we can use, and that is Congress must have a sense, Mark, that everything that's being implemented in the ESSA is reasonable, is using funds wisely, and is going smoothly. And if Congress does not have a sense of those three things, they can pull the plug on everything. Now, that's a huge opportunity for those of us who are trying our best to neuter his power, because a lot of his power is against the law. And this has been pointed out during his confirmation. You had at least two senators. One was Senator Lankford from Oklahoma.
Where Obama did not win a single district.
Okay, very good. I'm glad you pointed that out. Now, here's the thing. Washington did not listen to anyone who said, do not take Dr. King, because the entire state of New York, where Dr. King was head over the
he was
State
head of the
Department
state
of Education. He absolutely ran roughshod over the entire state. You had not only the citizens of New York protesting, you had every one of us who were, fighting this battle every day saying, do not hire him, do not hire him. And because of that rally that we had, we were able to influence the Congress members to vote against him. Now, we did lose that vote, but the victory is that we didn't lose it by much. Had we done nothing, he would have won by a landslide.
Right. He's on thin ice. That's encouraging, because as we're talking about the Secretary of Education. That is a cabinet level appointee by the president. So to really get him fired, you'd pretty well have to, only the president could do that, unless he broke the law, But if there is a window open, that there is any oversight in Congress, I'd like to follow up with you offline and find out where that oversight might come from. And because there's a little crack The door's cracked open, and
Yeah.
we need to wedge our foot in there so that door won't.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, one of the things that I want to give an example of before I have to go is one of the things that is in the regulation that has me just absolutely incensed is that Dr. King will be setting up a new National Education Research Center for gifted and talented students. Basically, those gifted and talented students, Mark, through this education research facility will be lab rats.
But
And
it
we're
sounds
doing
so good, doesn't it?
Oh, it does. It absolutely does. Because, yes, we need more evidence-based research on how we can make everyone learn better. Well, why in the world do we need skewed research? Why in the world are we calling out our gifted and talented students? Why are we using them for lab rats? But look what they're doing on the other end of the spectrum with the special needs.
Yeah.
They are expecting the special needs children to run on a college career readiness track that some of these students will never be able to master.
Yeah. Lynn, we could, we could stay here another half hour and not even scratch the surface. But Lynn, folks, for those of you watching, I'll testify that Lynn is one of the most knowledgeable experts. She takes the time to read these documents that only, it seems to me, a lawyer could understand. But Lynn, thank you for your research. And again, let's follow up and find what, if there's a way that we can implement any congressional oversight. Let's find out what that is, and let's keep this guy under a magnifying glass.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
Okay, Lynn, thank you so much.